we are. Um, Hello, everybody. Well, today AMAs is a little bit special, unusual. We have received responses from two of our candidates to get a seat on the multi-sig from Zephyr and Carlos. And we would like to just summarize their answers, run through some of them, and perhaps ask some follow-up questions and have a good discussion about the multi-sig and how they see the multi-sig operating and what they think is the main purpose of it and how they can contribute to it. So far we have Zephyr with us with an audience. So Zephyr, if you'd like to jump to the stage, you can just raise your hand and then we can start having a good conversation. There we are. There is the hand. Invite to speak. There you are. You should be on the stage together with me, Zephyr. Hello. How are you doing today? Yeah, I'm also glad to have you here. I know you're a little bit stressed. I'll try not to ask difficult questions. Uh, you did. Excellent. So you're refreshed. Fantastic. Well, thanks for sending your answers over. Now they are posted for anybody who would like to see them. I mean, I cannot share my screen here on the stage, but in my recording I have both answers, both documents with answers on my screen right now. So the answers are also under announcement, easy to find in many shapes and forms, direct Discord answers or Google Docs, whatever suits people best. So I'm just looking at those answers. Sadly, cannot share them because Discord stage doesn't allow for that. But anyhow, so yeah, it was great to read through the answers you both guys provided. Um, Maybe if you would like to recap briefly on just repeat some few words about yourself and your introduction, just for people who don't really like to read. So just a few words about.
I change my name all the time. But my point is, um, I've been active in DeFi and crypto for around the last, I would say at this point, 4.5 months. Not long, but learning quickly. I got into the entire DeFi scene by chance. But I've been really happy and quite content with the progress I've made and kind of the people I've kind of relationships with, you know, and I'm more or less a community guy. I've been an online community manager for around 5 years, and my skills kind of flourished in this DeFi scene that really needed some competent um, experienced individuals, to bring some passion and competency to the actual community management scene. Um, and as some of the servers I managed were anywhere from 100 to 250K.
Mhm.
So a wide breadth of people I have managed from various walks of life, from gamers to people who have mental health and awareness servers. So a wide, large amount, and that's a little bit about me. That's all I have. But unless you want to ask some more questions,
Yeah,
which I
definitely.
assume you will.
I will. I will. Well, just to follow up on that, I mean, that's as you say. I mean, 4 months maybe is not long, but with right experience and right attitude that certainly you have. I mean, it's not about time. Obviously, yes. With more time, you get to
More
understand
experience.
exactly. You get to understand, blockchain as such deeper. But I mean, some skills and quantities are universal, right? They apply to pretty much anything you do. So
Oh, absolutely.
I fully agree that it's yeah, time is obviously is relevant and important, but it's more about the qualities and
I
that.
have actually not been so in my DeFi, like I have been was very paranoid when I first started about like, wow, everyone seems like they're getting their money stolen. People are, for lack of a better term, not nice. And, they steal and you should never trust anyone. To which I was saying like that's exhausting. Um so I might as well just find some places I like and just stick to those.
Mm,
And I have never been rugged, weirdly enough. I have not been in the position, and some people say like you've only been in truly in DeFi once you get rugged once, and like I haven't yet. I hope it doesn't continue. I hope it stays that way.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I mean, whether you've only been like for real in DeFi once you've been right, I don't think that's true. I mean, it's
I agree with that sentiment, honestly. I mean, if you're smart enough to avoid the shady, malicious characters of, you know, not even DeFi, just the internet, then you'll actually be doing okay. DeFi is, I wouldn't say it's safe. It's the Wild West, but it's not as, people shouldn't just jump at every opportunity that is given to them.
mm. I mean, yeah, certainly. I mean, we had what for some couple of months ago we had quite a big incident in Phantom, right? Which was I believe it was Grim Finance, wasn't it? That was
Uh,
uh,
it,
that was
I,
rugged.
I wasn't in Phantom at that
N-
time, but
not really
continue.
rugged, but actually exploited. Well, now I'm
Mm,
mixing either Grim or Reaper. I don't want to now, but I believe it was Grim. Basically, well, it n-
mm-hmm.
not the team's fault. It's just someone found an exploit in their code and managed to deplete some liquidity pools. I believe it was close to 30 million USD.
Wow.
Um, a lot of money. A lot of people lost quite a bit. And well, at that time I was in the protocol too. But fortunate enough for me, the hackers didn't, or a hacker or a team of hackers didn't manage to get to the liquidity pool where I had my funds. So the team realized what was happening, and they basically froze everything in the protocol, and then the hacker couldn't really interact with the protocol any longer. But if they were like a couple of minutes late, I guess, then some of my funds would have been hit too by
That
by
would have been very unfortunate.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, but in that case, you can say I was fortunate in that, saying, well, that they simply they chose different liquidity pools to start with, and
Yes. Uh, Absolutely. So, I sorry, we got off on a tangent. I tend to do that to people by accident. But yeah, so some of the questions you wanted to ask me specifically about my intro. Uh,
indeed, well, yeah. So basically, the follow-up question was more like, what excites you the most about DeFi? Not really like yeah, making money. That's everybody would like to make money, but more like
Actually, it's not. Yeah. What other kind of makes me
exactly,
passionate,
yeah, yeah, indeed.
bullish on DeFi? I can easily explain. I can honestly say it. I could talk at length about the subject, but I'll say it like this: the thing that most excites me for DeFi is that it's a new chance to, I wouldn't say start anew, but it has the opportunity to, where traditional finance has more or less been bogged down by malicious intents and self-interest. DeFi can potentially be something that is better and different compared to that. It can be a new, a fresh start, provided the early adopters who rise to the top are moral and just individuals. So I want to see where this goes. I got involved honestly to pay off my dog's euthanasia bills, which
Hmm.
is not a typical reason to enter DeFi, but it is for me. That was my case. I used it to pay off my boy's euthanasia bills, and I got into DeFi, and I landed up in Tomb Fork Land. But I want to see where I see a lot of people. I see a lot of intelligent and moral people. I also see a lot of horrible behavior. So I want to see if I honestly want to see the people who may not have the immense amount of capital, but they have like the right and kind hearts. See, I want to see where they go, and they can make a better future for people.
mm mm. Yeah, yeah, that definitely. Yeah, I can fully sign under that. I mean, it's the it's something that I identify myself with as well. And yeah, I mean, it was a good point you touched upon that. I mean, maybe to get a fresh start for, I mean, let's call it broadly financial services, right? Because it's very broad, but
Hmm.
let's use a term like this. But on the other hand, we still see again. I mean, obviously you're innocent until proven otherwise. But we've seen recently a huge collapse of the entire Terra blockchain, which the more time passes, the more sort of stuff is surfacing, right? The kind of the dead bodies are falling off the closet, right? I mean, and it's like it's so it's sort of at some point it's when it gets big, huge, like when we start talking about billions, those bad actors start appearing, right? And but I hope, yeah, let's. But hopefully, overall, there is more good than bad, and if that's the case, then we are probably on a for a here for a good trip.
Yes, I would hopefully the people who rise to the top, who will establish themselves as pillars of the community or the DeFi institutions, will be the ones that, make the change for the better in the coming next few years.
I agree. I agree. Um, and then, but basically, there is always, I mean, in the end of the day, it's yes, there is a smart code working behind, but there are still, humans interacting with the smart code, triggering different events, different transactions, and whatnot. And so far, I mean, there are different layers of protection or security. Protocols can impose on themselves, to make sure, even though the intentions are good, the team has the right intentions. They mean nothing bad for the protocol, for the community, for the users. There is still and there always be a risk because all those people are human beings. They can always become emotional. They can always become um, maybe they can it's just their motives might change and become not as noble as they were, in the start, and so on and so forth. So teams, protocols, they, introduce different layers of protection, security, both to kind of control, limit themselves, and also to show to the community that, well, they mean no harm because there are those limits, right? There are those restrictions that they cannot bypass just by themselves if they wish to. And one of those limits, and also why we are discussing, this questionnaire today is the multi-sig. Of course, there are different layers of protection, but multi-sig is one of the the one that is used almost, I wouldn't say daily, but the one used most, you could say, right? This is the mechanism that safeguards the funds in the treasury or the funds that the protocol operates with. Well, just to for those who don't know what multi-sig is and how it works, it's essentially is multi-sig is nothing else than a wallet address that has funds in the wallet. And to trigger a transaction from a wallet like this, anybody on the multi-sig stands for multi-signatory. So anybody who is a signee in the multi-sig can initiate a transaction, but for the transaction to go through, there needs to be a certain conditions met. They obviously depend on what the configuration of the multi-sig is. In our case, in the case of DeFIRE, the multi-sig consists of five signees, and 4 out of 5 need to confirm the transaction to happen. And we have three identical multi-sigs, one on Polygon, one on Avalanche, and one on Phantom, because well, DeFire is multi-chain, so we have assets on 3 chains, and therefore we have the identical configuration all three. So the way we operate today, we have three, let's call it team members who are the signees of on the multi-sig, and 2 external. One was elected, approved by the community, Nick, when we were initiating the first community sale. And the second person, Mr. Snot, was added to the multi-sig as a temporary solution until the community chooses the second external multi-sig holder. So there was a configuration of 3 internal and 2 external multi-sig holders. And for any transaction to go through, there is at least one external signature required at any time, basically. So that's the configuration of the multi-sig. And here, what we are discussing, and the process we are now running is to find the replacement for the temporary multi-sig holder, which is Mr. Snot. And we have 2 candidates. We have Zephyr and Carlos. And Zephyr we have on the call right now with us. So just to then maybe go to more of question specific or topic specific to the multi-sig. Um, so if I may maybe briefly to sort of explain how myself kind of see the multi-sig and the purpose of it, and then let's see what you think about it and what your comment on that would be, if that's okay.
On your stance on the multi-sig.
Yeah, absolutely,
Uh,
yes. Or how we actually
sure.
use it in DeFIRE, in fact. So
Okay. Well, I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to
fantastic.
judge harshly. No, no, I'm joking. But
No, it essentially it's pretty straightforward. So myself, being part of the team, um, I would expect the multi-sig to make sure, or the multi-sig, the whole kind of the group of people being part of the multi-sig, to make sure that the transaction that are triggered, they are well. I would not expect the external holders to initiate or trigger any transactions because they don't really deal with the daily operations of the DeFi. So anybody from the team triggers a transaction, and as long as this transaction is according to the proposed and approved plan, budget, whatever we call it, beforehand, then that transaction should essentially be just approved by the multi-sig holders without really being questioned. So that is sort of how I look at it. I don't know what you think about it.
hmm. Honestly, as far as the multi-sig, yeah, it's important to function as have a consensus on your team. If the daily operations, and something needs to be purchased, you're essentially using the community's funds, that
Indeed,
they gave you,
indeed.
to operate DeFire or whatever protocol it is.
Mm-hmm,
And I believe it is actually important, to have that team consensus to go forward and say, hey, like, is this the ideal way to use the operation funds? Now, let's say I assume you would never do this, but for example, like someone gets a harebrained scheme to waste, I don't know, $20,000 on a marketing budget for a billboard. This is
mm-hmm,
very fictitious.
mm-hmm,
But let's say that happened, at that point, um, I would hope that 4 out of 5 people would say, no, that's not a bad idea, denied, not allowing the transaction to go through.
mm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. Sure. So my comment to that, I would actually say that the transactions we've had so far that are all sort of posted under the transparency channel, they were all more or less in line with either a certain budget proposed to the community sometime in the past or in line. I mean, but essentially, there was a plan drafted and a budget drafted for the community, and then it was subjected to a snapshot vote, right? So
mm,
the community gave the team a mandate to operate within this time not time frame but this framework with this budget to deliver certain scope, right? So you could say there is a mandate from the community to act on its behalf to deliver Blaze protocol, and
mm,
and obviously that requires certain expenses, to pay for monthly contribution to certain contributors, or to pay for the
mhm,
development work, perhaps sometimes to pay for marketing expenses. So here, again, maybe I'm wrong, but when I'm looking at the external multi-sig holders, I'm not perhaps looking to defend the transaction. Obviously, if they are unreasonable and they are not according to what is being
Yeah, of
approved
course.
before,
But
obviously. But if this falls within the framework of we deliver Blaze, then it's myself together with the team that makes to make sure that we kind of choose the best path
mm,
to deliver the scope, and they use the funds in the most efficient way. Obviously, I mean, spending 20K on a billboard might not be the best way
I
to
hope
spend.
I hope not. I
But
hope not. But
let's say, but if there was a vote, right? The community say, yeah, let's bloody spend 20K on a billboard, and then the community chooses to do that, right? So then there is really
it's
nothing
a
else
good
than just to
point.
approve, yeah, that transaction.
So I'll get back to the point your point though.
Hmm.
You know, I do believe that it's important, for at least on the multi-sig, it to be responsive and quick. You know, if say three people aren't available and two are, then a transaction honestly can't go through.
Can't.
Uh, you know, then, you know, that's a various other issue. But I agree with you. You know, if you're allowed the autonomy to do things and there's responsiveness and from the multi stakeholders
Hmm.
to do as they need to do for the community, then I believe that's perfectly acceptable.
Hmm. No, that's yeah. I think yeah. Then we are definitely. I mean, probably thinking along the same lines here, because I mean, so far we've didn't have um, let's say a situation where the external multi-stakeholder would question, say, oh, but I don't agree that we should pay this guy, $1,500 for the last month, because I mean they have no way of knowing how that person contributed to the project, right? Because it's essentially it's the team that manages those resources, and it's the team who can value or
Mhm.
evaluate, yeah, this I mean, does this person
Yeah.
deserve for the
So,
payment as such, or not, right?
hmm yeah, it's very much as an external multi-stakeholder. And I mean, you did not ask this question yet, but I suppose if the opportunity was given to me, I would have to, I would approach it as such. I'm a community guy.
Hmm.
You know, I'm a person who acts as a liaison for most communities members. I sometimes act in opposition to my boss's, desires because that's what the community wants to be hearing. I will convey that message and to the community's message to them,
Hmm.
whether they like to hear it or not. You know,
Hmm.
it's important that everyone's voices get heard. And if you was, if I was, say, Zeph, this is something you do, I would more or less be representing the community as an outside party and asking you questions as to why some of these, you know, budgets happen. If it is disclosed and everything's good, then there's no really need for me to delve deeper.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I mean, if there would be, I fully agree. If there would be a transaction expenses that are not really that are difficult to associate with let's say the agreed budget or the plan for delivering the scope, yeah, definitely, I should agree. I mean, why the hell the team should spend, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
something
Why
silly.
are exactly? Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Um, you know, if there was like this is a scenario that probably happens to other DAOs and communities and treasuries. This is let's say there was a fund that I think one of the questions in the questionnaire is how do you make sure you do not collude with the leadership?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Uh, but I suppose the best way to not collude with leadership is to ask questions, not be oppositional, but
Hmm.
ask questions every time and make sure things are being discussed. You know, if things are inactive, if things are not being conveyed, it lends itself to skittishness from the community. And it's easily avoided.
True. True. Definitely. I mean, yeah, you'll see if once you are selected by the community, you'll see that there is a quite clear and thorough explanation for each transaction that that we post in the multi-sig channel that we have. So those who are on the multi-sig
That's
receive a
great.
message, and so there is never a doubt or a question what a transaction is for, and what do they mean, and what is the reasoning
Hmm.
behind. And there also, if there is an invoice, there are invoices posted and whatnot. So there is a proof for why, or for a reasoning why the transaction needs to happen and why it is so much and so much. So yeah, there is documentation for everything actually. Um, so
That
in the,
makes, if I was to be chosen, it would make my job a lot easier. I can just
absolutely,
go to the channel and it's like, hey, I know what they want. I don't have to bother Firefly, Wilder, Phoenix at
yeah,
all.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the intention is that, well, the multi-sig operates smoothly, right? There is no time wasted of anybody that into sort of in debates. Oh, why is this? Why is that? Oh, I don't understand this. Why this is not clear to me? It's the life can be much more easier, much easier for everybody if all the information is available for the signees upfront and they understand what they are signing and why. So that's how we
Yeah.
operate so far, and so we hopefully will continue like this because it's really it's easier for anybody to act like that.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
mm,
100%.
so
Um,
yeah, that's good. The other question I wanted to ask you, but I can see that you said you're using hardware wallets, so that's great because it kind of adds, although you can't really approve any or transaction yourself, but using hardware wallet and connecting your hardware wallet to the multi-sig interface is also great. I mean, ultimately, every transaction you will be signing, uh, it happens through MetaMask, so it's almost like signing, transfer of tokens or whatever. It's pretty much the same.
if it, yeah, honestly, if you use a hardware wallet just adds a layer of security that
It,
makes me feel comfortable to, especially for multi-sigs. If there's a treasury involved, I'd prefer it not just be on a normal MetaMask, address.
yeah,
So,
definitely. Although MetaMask um, is the app that
well, the
that
interface,
interfaces,
the conduit.
yeah, exactly, that interfaces with the multi-sig contract. But there is also the hardware approval that you have to give, right, to make
Yes,
it to
I
make it
like the
happen.
extra layer of approval.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
makes it, yeah. Honestly, if I did not have that, I say if I had no Ledger, if I had no Trezor, whatever hardware wallets,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
prefer, I probably would say I can't do this. I have not enough security, to be a proper multi-sig holder, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily I do.
Yep, that's great. I mean, so far, I don't think no, I think everybody on the multi-sig, yeah, everybody on the multi-sig right now is using the hardware wallet, so that will just work nicely with the sort of the same level of security everybody else is also having. Um,
100%.
yeah, just when I just scroll through quickly your questions, I don't think there's anything else that we didn't touch upon. I think you answered the questions nicely, and I think the once the community hears your answers and reads through your answers, I think I mean definitely the answers you gave is something one could expect from somebody sitting on a multi-sig and overseeing that the team performs all the transactions according to the agreed and approved plan or budget. So I think there is really not much more to discuss than that. He also wrote that you're available or you will be available when required. Obviously, it's I mean the transactions they try to be planned or scheduled, and I mean you'll see that they kind of come in cycles. Obviously, at the beginning of a new month, there are some compensations to contributors to be paid, so that is pretty much a monthly
Hmm.
thing. And then once in a while there is some transaction or invoice to be paid that is maybe not associated with a month cycle. So, but other than that, it's pretty scheduled and planned ahead.
Hmm.
So it's not anything that happens, 5 times a day, and then
Oh,
you need to sit on your on your toes just waiting for the next multi-sig transaction to approve. So no, that's not the case. Um,
I yeah. Either way, I'm at pretty much at your beck and call. Honestly, just due to the nature of my jobs, I'm on Discord quite a bit. So if
mm,
someone said I'll either get it'll be two scenarios.
yeah.
I will see your message on the computer immediately, or within like 20 to 30 minutes, or I'll see it on a phone notification as it vibrates against my face while I'm sleeping.
Ah, sure. I mean, that's perfect. At some point, I mean, so far we've been operating since we are still developing and still rather a small protocol with treasury that is not in tens of millions. We are operating like every transaction from the treasury. At some point, what we will probably do once the treasury grows and also the team grows and there is more happening in the project. The transition with the multi-sig and the budget will probably look like, obviously, if the community approves, but that would only
Yeah.
be beneficial for the operations. It would be that each team, let's say different different by different team, I mean different expertise. Let's say engineering, marketing, community management, and whatnot. Each of those teams will prepare a certain budget and then the scope they would be delivering in the, let's say, upcoming 1, 2, or 3 months, and then the multi-sig would allocate a certain budget for them to fulfill the task. So there'll be, because once the protocol grows, there is more people involved. Uh, it would become immensely more absorbing for the multi-sig to approve every single transaction, because there will be many transactions. Then you have many teams operating. Those teams would have multi-sig within themselves too, but those would be the team multi-sigs that would most likely, we haven't drafted a plan for that yet, but most likely there will be multi-sigs composed of, let's say, 4 or 5 members of the team itself, right? So they would be responsible for using the funds that they were allocated from the main treasury to then deliver the scope that they have drafted. Here, we also think there should be some kind of limit on how much that budget could be. So it should be large enough to allow to deliver a certain scope, but it should be limited to the extent that it doesn't incentivize anybody to try something illicit, right? So there will be this balance to be found. So that is sort of
Yeah.
so that's something we're thinking of like when we need to expand, the team and how the multi-sig could operate at that time. I don't know if you what would be your opinion on that.
As my opinion as to whether the multi-sig, can you repeat just the question one more time? Is more like how it would pay
So it
out
would be
the
like
contributors if you.
multi-layered multi-sig. So basically,
Mm,
still the multi-sig we are discussing now would be safeguarding the main treasury, right? The main treasury of the
yeah.
protocol. But then once individual teams become larger and then they would be operating with their own budgets, then they would propose a budget, let's say a monthly budget for something, let's say 30,000. I'm just now making up number. They will propose, yep,
Yeah, arbitrary 30,000 that's allocated to the team. I think I know where this is going. Would they have their own multi-sig as well?
exactly. They will have their own multi-sig, but it will be internal. It will most likely not involve external people at that time, because external would be safeguarding the overall, the big treasury. And the small budgets, they will be allocated to teams to operate within a month, let's say. Within that budget,
Hmm.
they propose a budget, they propose a scope. There will be obviously a justification for why they're asking for the budget like this,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and then they are free to operate within that budget. And obviously, what I was saying, there has to be a balance between how big the budget could be,
Mhm.
so it allows for the operations, but also that it prevents for any attempt, or doesn't really give incentive for the team to collude and to take the money and just run away, right? So there has to be this kind of balance found.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm actually, if my thought is that if you allow, I'm not sure how it works efficiently in practice. And what I mean by that, yes, there is someone to say you would define essentially have to incentivize people if they have an internal multi-sig, for us that's separate from the main one, the main treasury, as far as I'm understanding. It would essentially have to be, I don't know. I suppose you would have to have some main team members on there, which would make sense.
Oh yes, of course. I mean,
You-
each team would be led by one of the main, well, one of the team leads, right? At the moment, we have what? We have four. So yeah, each team will be led by one of them. But there will be, with the growth
yeah,
of the ecosystem and the project, there probably will be more teams with more team leads, right? So
yeah. But as to answer your question, yes, I agree with the concept. I don't know how you would execute it. In practice,
mhm.
but it sounds like a good thing in theory. People, preventing the team stuff. There's going to be, whether you like it or not, you can hire as many good people as you want, and they appear to be moral, and most of them probably are. But there's always going to be that one greedier individual.
Mm,
That's
correct, correct. Yeah,
and I
definitely. I
think the
mean,
multi-sig does a good job preventing that one bad actor to essentially.
absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely, and then exactly, indeed. So and then at some point, I mean, there'll be like a level of, let's say, the budget, monthly budget for the team. I mean, the size of it will not be big enough for the team to be incentivized, right, to do anything illicit. Because, I mean, if you have a budget of, let's say, 30,000, and you have four people that need to jointly agree on, let's say, stealing that money, that it's probably not worth it.
Absolutely,
Yeah. So,
100%.
but that's something we'll be discussing and proposing once, let's say, well, probably after we have lunch, and then we see rapid growth both of the team and the fund in the treasury, and then probably we'll be looking at how to expand the kind of the operations at that time. But
Mhm.
before then, we'll be operating from a single treasury that we know today. So that's
Okay.
something for future.
Yes, sounds good. Um, any other questions, my friend?
I don't think so. I think it was a great discussion. You had, I think we're sharing the views on what's the purpose of a multi-sig and how it should and could operate, which is fantastic. Well, it's a shame we couldn't get Carlos on the call today, but there is another AMA with Wilder in 2 days, so I believe he might be joining there. So I guess
Oh,
Wilder would then run the AMA with Carlos. I think at that time, then we'll post both questions and answers together with what you already wrote, and Carlos will let the community to digest it for a couple of days, and then we'll ask for their opinion.
sounds good. I
So
can't wait to join the next one.
excellent, excellent. So, well, thanks a lot for joining and for being part of the process, and for your willingness to help with the multi-sig. It's appreciated. It's great to
Uh,
have people
I'm yeah,
people
I'm
around.
happy to help.
Fantastic.
No doubt about that. I have been doing helping out in other ways for DeFi as well.
Exactly.
Uh,
Certainly, certainly. So all help is appreciated, and it's every role is very relevant and important, and
mhm,
whatever we can do to boost transparency is great, especially when now it's not really a secret or anything. I mean, now we have entering into or trying to or implementing plans of also expanding DeFire to Shimmer, which is when one of the
Oh,
blockchains of
yeah,
IOTA, which
yeah.
thanks to Zephyr for turning my eyes towards that blockchain. So yeah, we definitely will be also developing for IOTA,
Oh
and
yeah. I
so
can't wait. It's going to be interesting to see how a more DeFi veteran protocol establishes themselves in IOTA.
oh, absolutely. But also, what is that? I mean, important thing about, like what we are discussing. Yeah, might, not seem very related to IOTA at the moment, but always introducing yourself to a new community and presenting that you have, a strong and established multi-sig that is also that it meaningfully involves external multi-sig holders. I think is always a strong message to send to
Oh,
any new community you're meeting, right? So,
absolutely. I think the things strengths of DeFi will become apparent when Shimmer launches. The thing that makes it most appealing, I mean, is not rather, the robustness of the community at the moment. It is actually the transparency and passion you guys bring to DeFi and, DeFi itself. I'm extremely confident, or I'm extremely hopeful and confident that DeFi will do extremely well.
mm,
I'm happy that I introduced you guys to Christian. I'm glad you guys are getting onto the Shimmer. You know, Time will tell if it'll be in like 2 months or 3 months or longer. But I can't wait to when that day comes. Everything launches and see where things go.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. Yeah, we are glad to be able also to develop. So it adds essentially it adds fourth or even fifth blockchain for DeFi to operate on. I mean, we have Polygon, Avalanche, Phantom, Ethereum at some point, and now also Shimmer. So that's five. So it actually will be quite a multi-chain offering that will bring at some point. Obviously, not all five at once because well, we have to launch them gradually because otherwise we would be developing forever and never really launch anything. But
Honestly, your method is right. I'm not sure if you have decided on Polygon, Avalanche, or Phantom, but whatever one you choose, it's good to start with the three, base more noticeable EVM chains.
exactly, indeed it is. Indeed it is. So yeah, it was a great call, great talk we had. I was glad to have you here answering the questions, and despite being very stressed, you didn't really give us any signs of that. So well done, well
Oh,
done.
it was mostly that I haven't slept for days, but then I
Well,
slept for 6 hours and like, this is great. I should do this more.
how is that possible? We spoke for 3 hours ago, and you managed to sleep 6 hours since then. Your time
No,
must be
no,
flying differently than mine.
no. I meant, but prior to our
I
conversation.
see, I see. Okay. I was like,
No,
wow,
no, like you're lying about time, Mr. Zeff. Is like,
I, wow, or maybe time passes or flies differently for you than for me. Could also be.
it might actually be the case, but also it's DeFi. You never know. It moves 5 times the speed of reality.
We do, we do. All right. On that note, thanks a lot for today. It was great having you. Good discussions, and we'll share that conversation with the community, and well, then we'll move the process forward.
Absolutely. I was happy to take my time and come here. Thank you so much, Firefly.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.